The challenge with tuberculosis is that it's an airborne infectious disease that's deadly, and it can be transmitted to other people through coughing or singing or sneezing. And the treatment takes at least 6 months with antibiotics. If the patients are not compliant with their medication, not only their health doesn't improve, they can continue to transmit to other people, and the bacteria itself can mutate and form drug-resistant strains that are much harder to treat and cost a lot more to treat. And it's such an important issue that we actually spend a considerable amount of public health dollars having health department staff monitor patients on a daily basis to make sure that they take their medication. Currently, that's all being done in person. We think that video DOT will be the way that we could do this remotely at a much lower cost and with much more flexibility for patients and their providers. I was fortunate to have an opportunity to talk to one of our patients who tried the video DOT system. And Tom is a 24-year veteran of the Marine Corps. He spent time in 56 different countries around the world. Many of them were high prevalence countries for tuberculosis. When he got out of the Marine Corps after spending time in Vietnam, he had tested positive for infection with tuberculosis, but didn't have active disease.
The X-rays, nothing ever showed anything, but they started this new test called PPD conversion, where they actually came in and they could pinprick you. And if you got these little marks and stuff up, it meant you turned out positive for having it, but you don't have it. In other words, it's hidden, they can't find it.
Tom never took the prophylactic treatment for TB, and 30 years later, when he was having some other health conditions and had gone through a series of surgeries, his immune system became suppressed and the tuberculosis woke up, and he ended up having a lesion on his lung that was detected during one of his surgeries.
The county health department people stepped in because the hospital had to report it, and since I was already at home in convalescence, they quarantined me to my home.
Once Tom started treatment, it was a series of about 11 pills per day that he had to take, and the health department would come to his house every day to watch him take his medication and make sure that he was taking all of his pills.
It was very chaotic, very tough to schedule people. Everybody had different workloads, and then one day I'm taking it at 8 o'clock in the morning, and the next day I'm taking it at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, or I'm taking it at 7 at night, depending on their availability and not mine.
He was actually quite happy when they invited him to try video DOT. This was a process where he could take the pills whenever he was ready, and he made a recording of the process, and the DOT workers could watch the video back at the office and know that he had taken his pills.
It took about 10 minutes to be taught. The individual that came out walked me all the way through everything, had a little nice program put together so that I could refer it initially. It was easy. We actually set it up around Pacific time, usually between 12 and 2 in the day, because I had to force myself to eat when you take that medication.
The importance of treating patients completely for TB is that they're cured and they do not continue to spread tuberculosis to others. In addition, drug-resistant strains are not being created. With our current system of in-person DOT, there are always doses that are missed. The patients get tired of the process, they drop out of treatment early. By making the process simpler for the patients and more convenient, they're more likely to continue their treatment until the end.
Putting the pills and everything together and waiting for someone to come and see me take it usually was about 30 minutes to 45 minutes of my time, and there too, because they had to set up, they had to lay out and that. As soon as we switched to the video dot, the first month I would say it was taking me about 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. By the time I got to the very end of the program, I was able to do this thing in about a minute. I would recommend anybody that has TB or some other reoccurring medicine that requires the same procedures to be evaluated and taken care of. VDOT would actually, I think, save a lot of issues and also reduce time and cut cost.
I think we're at a very exciting time where technology is going to allow us to move beyond the phase where we have to have people interacting with patients in person to monitor their treatment. Now we could use mobile technology to have that same interaction remotely, which frees up the patients and the providers to do things on their own schedule. It will save the health departments a considerable amount of time and money. They'll be able to use their resources to focus on the patients that are in greatest need as opposed to the patients that are going to be compliant anyway. It's going to allow patients that normally live too far away from a health department to actually have this type of monitoring in their homes. By reducing the resource burden with a lower cost technological solution, we hope that we'll be able to get more patients actually being monitored for their TB treatment and really reduce the development of drug-resistant TB and the ongoing transmission of tuberculosis around the world.